of our people. We have to be protective of our image.
Our ancestors, they were oppressed, and we are oppressed
Hotel.
today.
Welcome to another live broadcast. My name is Jah.
And I am Kevin Lewis.
That's right. And we are of the Jah and Kev Show. And each first and third Saturday, we come to you bringing some information that's pertinent to the ears and to the heart and to the mind and to the soul. Today's subject is going to be about life lessons. Kev, I can't wait to talk about life lessons. What about you?
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting show.
Yeah.
Because of course we don't rehearse.
Uh-oh.
And life has taught you.
Yeah.
And you don't know the lessons of me. And we don't know the lessons that life has taught a lot of our listeners.
Wow.
And this is something that we want to discuss with y'all.
Yeah, that's very important because today we're going to also let you know that we're going to be transparent, because anytime you talk about lessons of life, you have to be open and honest. And that's the way that we all grow. And we both, I know I can speak for Kev on this behalf. We're here to say that we're still a work in progress. No, we're still a work in progress. Right. We haven't arrived. Some people might think we are, but at the same time, man, we still got a lot of learning to do and a lot of growing to do. Yeah. So having said that, I want to start off by just talking about one of the lessons that I've learned about myself and what I continue to learn. And these lessons can be basically shared with all of us because I'm sure there's some truth to it. And here's the first one, bro, Kev. I must always work on myself. And the reason for that is because I need to learn how to improve. I can't live a life where I'm not improving. And this is something that life has taught me. In order to be effective, I have to learn how to deal with myself, work on myself, because it starts with me before it starts with anyone else.
Okay. So when did you come to that conclusion?
I came to that conclusion probably about 10 years ago, because as a younger gentleman, I was very naive, and I was very headstrong and self-conceited. And I had to come to grips with, hey, you always running your mouth about other people and what they should do, but yet, what about you? And so that was the challenge for me. And I'm so glad and grateful, I should say, that I've come to that conclusion, because it makes me a better person. And that's what I strive for in this world, is to be a better person, because I definitely need to grow.
Was it a certain event that happened or anything like
just
that?
Life, just overall. Life? Yeah, okay. overall in life, because so many lessons we learn in life, and we have to be honest, Kev. And when I say be honest, I'm talking about we have to be willing to admit our faults. We have to be willing to admit our shortcomings. We use the word transparent. So we have to know that we have defects. All of us do. We all have defects, but we have to work on those defects. And if life has taught us that, then I think, and in fact, I know that's a beautiful thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
To work on ourselves.
And I'm going to feed off of that. I'm going to bounce off of that on my list of things that I've learned in life. And I listed mine as importance to me.
Okay. But
down the list on what you're saying, is I have hubris.
Okay.
And hubris is arrogance.
Okay.
It's a pride and a confidence, that a point that it becomes arrogant. And I think many of us have that when we learn things, and we think that, okay, I know this, and I'm going to pound everybody over the head with what I know. Wow. And sometimes you have to take a step back and check that.
Right.
Because you could come, you say, okay, I have this information.
Right.
You know what? You don't have this information. And let me tell you what you don't know. And let me tell you what's wrong with you. And like you said, that bounces back to you, what you were saying, your point. You have to reflect on yourself before you want to come and bash somebody else. Because see, then it could go to a back and forth.
Right.
You could sit there and be saying, well, you don't know this, and you don't know this, and you need to do this. And somebody could turn around and say, yeah, and you don't know this, and you don't know this, and you need to. So that's not even what you want to engage in them with. And what your purpose may be is to help them, but it comes across as an arrogance, and how you present that.
Right, that's beautiful, Kev. That's beautiful. I'm so glad we are talking about life lessons. If you have any life lessons that you've been taught, we ask that you comment. We'll open the phone lines a little later, but we want to kind of set this table first. Another thing that I've learned in life as I reflect, Kev, is it has to do with wisdom. Right. My mother, my grandfather, my uncles, my aunts, when I was growing up, they would often share with me what I should do or what I shouldn't do. Now that I'm older, I realized that those lessons weren't just to be going in one ear and out the other.
Right.
They were shared with me so that I can apply them. And so I'm still thinking about the basic lessons on how to treat people, how to treat yourself, what to do in certain situations. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to continue to apply that wisdom. As old as I am, I still want to be able to delve into that wisdom and apply it so that, again, the goal would be that I can take advantage of the life that I have.
Wow. I mean, let me first, I'm going to thank Coretta for showing up on Facebook.
Okay.
On Facebook Live. We're both on YouTube channel, Jah and Kev Show, and we're on Facebook Live on the Kevin Lewis page. And William, I appreciate you showing up. He said righteous versus the self-righteous.
Wow.
And,
yeah.
So let me bounce off of what you said. See, you got me playing basketball. We playing volleyball or whatever, man, because you putting it out there. And another thing I said, the life taught me was something similar to what you said. You talk about the wisdom that elders gave you in your family. And on my list, I said knowledge. I learned that knowledge and wisdom is they're not the same.
There you go. There you go.
And what I see is many people that gain knowledge don't know how to use that knowledge wisely.
Talk to me, Kevin. Talk to me about that.
A lot of even our educators, our so-called people that think they want to be educators, we separate those that are giving us knowledge and not giving us wisdom. Because and the reason I'm saying this, if you think that of Albert Einstein, you know, people have, when I first say Einstein, people are going to put this, man, he was a brilliant man, you know, he had all this information, you know, relatively, you know, all these little calculations and all these things. He was very brilliant mind. But if you picture Albert Einstein as a third grade teacher talking to kids that's not able to understand what he's saying, how useful would he be if he doesn't know how to change or to dumb down what he's saying so that they can receive it? The whole purpose of teaching, or to many of us think that we're coming out to teach people, right? But what we do, we have all this information and then we don't know how to give it to people that's at a certain level. You have to talk to people at their level. So if Albert Einstein was in a classroom trying to talk to third graders, they're going to be sitting up there looking at him, blinking their eyes like, what is this guy talking about? I want to learn something else. So you got to be able to reach people in a certain way. And that takes a wise thing to do. Now I'm going to go into a little more with the knowledge and wisdom thing. Many of us at fault, we get information and that's gaining knowledge. Whatever data you get, whether it's good data, poor data, whatever, we get it, we accept it, and okay, now it comes a time when you need to talk to somebody or you want to talk, because some people could get your information. You just say, okay, wow, I'm building myself. And some people get it and say, I'm going to build you. You know, I'm gonna, like you was talking about in the first time when I said the hubris or whatever, the arrogance. I'm going to talk to I'm going out to teach people and I'm going to speak to people and whatever, but you may not have done the research on how to do that part. And one thing that I see with a lot of people that's trying to do these talk shows or they on social media and they have information and then they want to start attacking people, and you got to put in work. You got to put in work. Knowledge is the information. Wisdom is putting that information to work.
There you go.
And if you don't know how to do that, even when it comes to presenting it with other people, it's going to fall on deaf ears. And I have people that I know that say, well, you know, they just can't handle the way that I tell them. You know, that's their fault. You know, I just talk to people abrasively and I tell them straight up and straight up. And then they say, well, if that's their fault, they not wanting to listen. No, because it's just like a teacher in a class. If the way that you teaching is not reaching the kids, then you got to change the way that you're teaching so that you can reach the kids, because your whole purpose is not just throwing out information, but getting them to absorb the information. And that's why I think a lot of us fall short, because we get books, we get, or people have videos and they say, well, this lady, she's a doctor, so she should know about this. And what she's giving is an opinion. And just because she's a doctor, she can have an opinion just like anybody else. I remember the COVID thing came out and we had all these medical people was posting videos. Well, this person is in the medical field and they had scrubs on and they telling us what, oh, it's the 5G network and this is why. And it's like, that's the same thing my friend over here is talking about. That doesn't make sense now. So just because we put people on a pedestal because of their occupation. Now, I'm not saying you should shouldn't respect it.
Right.
But
Right.
listen to the information,
Mhm.
and then it's just okay. I give you credence because this is your profession.
Wow.
But I'm a listen to what you're saying, and then I'm going to weigh that instead of just accepting it because you're this person.
Wow, this is so powerful, y'all. If you guys are listening to this broadcast, we appreciate it. We want you to call someone and tell them to tune in, because this brother Kev and myself, we're putting information out that's very important to all of us, and it's practical. And what I want to say is it's a pendulum. It's like a pendulum, Kev. Kev is telling you about that first part of it, and I'm talking about the last part. Basically, when I say the last part is, now that you have this information, what you gonna do with it? See, because a lot of us have it and we're as rotten as an apple. And so we have to look at that and see and say, hey, I can't be this way, because knowledge not applied is nothing, you know.
Right.
And so wisdom is important. Another thing I want to talk about, Kev, is we bring it a little bit home closer to so-called race, is one of the things that I learned that life has taught me, and I'm still not struggling with it, but I have to accept this. And here it is. Just because someone looks like you does not mean that they have your best interest at heart when we talk issues. And I know you are a living witness of that. Just because people are crying pro-black, save the children, save the world, save the black man, save us, let's do what we need to do. A lot of that is rhetoric. So what I have been taught about life is, just because a person is throwing their fist up and wearing red, black, and green, a lot of times, not all the times, but many times, that doesn't mean that down for the cause of our people and our justice that we continually have to deal with living in this country. What say you?
Okay. And to that, what came to my mind when you said that is, people are people. I don't care what cause they're behind or what party they're a part of. You're going to find people are people. You're going to find knuckleheads in the cause. People, I mean, knuckleheads want to fall in the movement too.
Yeah.
And then what they're going to do some knuckleheaded stuff. I say stuff.
Right.
You know, or they're going to be selfish people that's going to be part of a movement. And then they're going to do some selfish. And you know, me and you already know, we dealt with people with a selfish mindset. Now, it's not maybe a greedy or this mind, but see, the things they do, they don't even understand. You have to bring that to their attention. You know, why you didn't tell, you know, you're saying this,
but
or you want us to do this for you, but then you're not doing this for us, you know, and in all aspects, because that's a selfishness that's in people, and people are going to be people.
That's right.
And sometimes you have to bring those things in a subtle kind of way, like I start with wisdom, wisely. Right. You can tell somebody something and say, well, you know, well, that'd be great if you did that for me also.
See, Kev, that shocked me. That a lot of times that hurt me though, and you know, and because I'm still growing, it hurt me to the core. And you said, well, why did it hurt you? Well, because I wasn't at the age of my life and my understanding and understanding that I was able to accept that. Because if you came to me and said, hey, power to the people and all of that kind of rhetoric, and I would really take that to heart. And then when you really didn't apply power to the people, and I saw that you were, you know, just talking and flapping your gums, and that you really weren't about what you said you were about, those types of things, they stirred me up, because I thought growing up that everybody that looked like me was down for me. See, I had to learn that lesson.
And that's something I think many of us had to learn along the way. That everybody
teeth, Kev.
Skin folk is not kin folk.
Okay.
I think that's what they say.
Okay.
And I know Chuck D said every brother is not a brother. You know, and if we, I mean, and that tells us, and see, we see these things over and over, and it shouldn't have to be life to tell us that.
Right.
Because even if we think of our fights along the way,
right.
It's been, I mean, we could go back to Nat Turner,
right,
and how did he get caught? One of the slaves told, you know, Harriet Tubman, she had to be, you know, some people gonna tell, you know, and you have to be cautious, and they knew that back then. And his story, Fred Hampton, you know, it was an informant that looked like him that joined their party, that basically gave them up and cost them their lives. And that was happening throughout the Black Panther Party. That was happening. The FBI was continually doing that with our movements, having informants placed inside of there. Chubby fat man, that was a brother that looked just like you, that talked just like down for the cause. And here they were, they turning around giving the information to somebody else.
Just like with the school, man, I have a lot of people who have come to me, and they meant well at first, but what the bottom line is, you know, where are they now as far as the help? Because we know that's an issue, and we all talk about how we shouldn't want our children to be turned over to an educational system that's brainwashing them, but at the same time, what are we doing to stop talking about it? So that goes back to what we're saying. People, we talk a good game, and it's like we have to learn that everybody's not going to do, and I'm okay with that. You know, I know one broadcast, you know, you straightened me out and told me, hey, you're just going to have to do what you have to do, basically. And that's what I'm doing. I leave this earth. You know, one of the things I also learned about life is this, Kev, that a lot of us, when we get older, we tend to just not give up on life, but we tend to go away. You know, when we're younger, a lot of us are out on the social movement. You know, we're fighting for the cause. You know, we're talking loud, and we're actually doing some positive things. But then when we get older, the health, the children, and all of the problems of the world weigh us down. And before you know it, all we're doing now is sitting around on the couch, drinking beer, drinking Kool-Aid, drinking milk, or whatever we're drinking, smoking whatever. And this is not an indictment. This is the truth. I've learned that. And I have to check myself, because sometimes I want to sit around and throw my hands up in the air and say, you know what? As most people say when they retire from a job or what have you, they don't want to do nothing but sit back and kick their legs up and drink lemonade and just go on to, in a sense, where they're not doing anything. But Kev, we should be continuously on the battlefield, because the struggle doesn't stop when you get to a certain age. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, I think that it comes, another thing I had on my list is perspective.
Okay.
And one perspective that I have, and I understand that my perspective is not your perspective, and I'm gonna say this.
Okay.
I learned from you.
Okay.
Right. I learned, and I'm saying this in a humble way. We have to humble ourselves, because I have books, a lot of books in my library. Everybody that I know is a book. If you look at them like that, and I can learn from everybody out there that I know.
Yes, sir.
And you could teach me what not to do, or you could teach me what to do. You could teach me, oh, this is what an idiot says, or you could teach me, man, I want to learn from this guy.
Right.
You know, and I'm saying this to say on things. Sometimes, like you said, the older people, when you're young, you have that ferocity. You want to attack the world. The only problem is, a lot of times you don't know the world.
Exactly.
You know, you get a little bit of information, now you want to go in there and you want to yell charge.
Right.
And the older people will be like, well, hold on, young fella, hold on, young lady. And it's just the way that we mature, that we understand that you can't go about doing things a certain way. When we were young and wanted to attack the world, what we needed was guidance. It's a disconnect in our community with the elder people. Like you say, your people in your family, they tried to give you information and wisdom.
Right.
And for some reason, we're not accepting it, because we're, a lot of times, many of us is just, man, okay, I don't want to hear all that soft, or that blah, blah, blah. I want to go out here and they doing this to our people, I want to attack. You did a play, and I thought it was brilliantly written. In each segment of that play, it was the dynamics between the older people and the younger people.
Yes, sir.
You went from this time of slavery, them getting their freedom, and the dynamics of the older people saying, the younger people like, yeah, we get this. Now I'm gonna do this. And the older person was, how you gonna do that?
Right.
Think about where you at. You know, slow down.
Right.
And then when you went to the Martin Luther King part, the older people was more for, and the younger people was like, Black Power movement. I don't want to hear that.
Right.
And then all the way to the Obama thing, you know, younger people, some of them was like with it. Some of them people was like, man, you know, I don't want to hear that. And older people was happy. Right. But see, we had different parts of our life. And somehow we got to have that connection. Right. We should be like, I shouldn't be on the battlefield. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because like you say, I got mortgage, I got grandkids, I got more things I got to take care of. When you're young, take care. Somebody's taking care of you. So you could go out and fight the wars like you wanted. You got all that energy. And okay, I should be giving you guidance. Right. Somewhere with our people, it should be a connection. We're all in the same fight.
Exactly.
And so when I'm looking at older people, I had a uncle in New York, and he told me, he was like, you know, I can't do this, I can't do that. I'm like, you don't have to. You know, guide me. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go out here and fight about Sandra Bland. I'm gonna go out here and fight about, you know, all of these things that's happening. And when I ain't got the energy, I should be passing that on to some of these younger people. That's the
part I'm talking about.
Guiding them. But to see the part is, some of these people sit back and they just want to sit back.
That's what I'm talking about right there. So I hear what you're saying, but I'm talking about, as we get older, many of us, we take that last perspective as far as, I've done what I need to do, so now it's your turn. No, it's not like that. So that's what life has taught us. If there are any comments that you have. We would love for you to comment.
I'm gonna read some.
What has life taught you? We want to listen about what life has taught you as well. Go for it, kid.
I appreciate Barbara Royal for showing up. She said, I truly appreciate the knowledge and wisdom you brothers bring to us. Keep spitting. I appreciate you, sister, for showing up and commenting. Lede, I appreciate you showing up. William, he said, keep dropping gems. And Sakina, salam alaikum, sister. She said, salam, she said, face trials of life with strong faith, humility, strength, and dignity. Hope for the best, but be prepared for whatever comes your way. I appreciate that, sister. That's strong. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate y'all showing up and dropping those comments. And
yeah. The sister, she's spot on, because that was one of the next things that I wanted to talk about when it comes to life, unless you have more comments, because I definitely can.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go to the YouTube page. We have Strawberry 1955. She said, greetings, brother.
All right.
And Arlene Tubbs said, peace and blessing, brothers. They're giving greetings to us on YouTube.
Okay.
Like I said, we're on YouTube Live. We're on Facebook Live. So whichever way y'all want to reach us,
there you go.
I'm gonna reach our comments.
And back to what the sister said, she must have been looking at my life when she said that, because here's the deal. Life is full of uncertainties. And since life is full of uncertainties, we must be cognizant and ready for the things that may come our way, in spite of. In other words, life has taught me that just because I may be feeling a certain way this day, or just because everything is going well this day, it doesn't always mean that. And see, what I'm trying to continue to learn as I go through this journey is I can't be like a roller coaster. In other words, if something happens to me, I can't say to you, I don't know why that happened to me, Kevin. Well, it happened to us because we're human. And in this life, things happen to human beings. So that's all I'm trying to say. I'm trying to simplify it, because sometimes I get bent out of shape when things happen to me that I may not be, what we say, ready for.
Give me an example.
An example is like when my mother passed away. Okay. Boy, that crushed me. And for the longest, I was very pissed, you see. And I wanted to know why. Well, because physical death is certain. I didn't know that. I know it now. And not only that, there are other illustrations that people go through, as far as you find out somebody in your family, your friends aren't who they say they are, or you in a relationship and you find out that person isn't the way they should be. When everything is going well, we tend to have an issue. We tend to be able to accept that. But when that thing turns up on its head, well, I'm going to use you an example. If they bust you tomorrow and you got dope all in this place, then they're going to say, Jahi, what happened? And the first thing I'm going to say is, I can't believe that. And, right. But that shouldn't crush me to the degree that I should not want to continue to live. I should say, well, whatever he was doing, he got caught. He should not have been doing it. But that's what happens when you do those things, as opposed to that thing messing me up psychologically for the rest of my life.
And you saying, well, I can't trust brothers, blah, blah, blah. No. Well, and that's, or people do that, like you said, with the relationship thing. People, no matter what type of relationship you have, you have a relationship with your friends, you have a relationship with your family, you have relationships with your spouse, or you get in a relationship, and because this person did something wicked, we call that baggage. People carrying baggage, and whatever happened to me and somebody else should have nothing to do with what happens to me and you.
Talk about
because
that.
I'm gonna let you stand on your own accord. But a lot of times we don't do that. But that's something that we have to learn to do. We have to, and then perspective. Like when you said something, you said like the passing of your mother, and you may be distant with people. And people may hold that against you, and not even know why you're being distant or what you're going through. It could be family, it could be something in your relationship, but you got to have a perspective to give. Sometimes people say a benefit of the doubt. Like if I come across somebody and the person is not normally like that, and then I see them and they not, hey, Kev, what's up? And I'm like, well, you know what? That person is fake. A lot of times, well, you know what? Any other time they want to be speaking, and now they but do they got a problem? First thing we turn on, if they got a problem with me, is something wrong with them? They funny acting. But that's ups and downs that people things, the ebbs and flow of life. And I don't know that something may have happened to your best friend. It may not even be you. It may be somebody that hurt you, and it's in your mind could be 1,000 miles away. But I'm holding it personally because I got to be able to say, okay, that person, I hope something is not wrong. And maybe even say, hey man, everything all right, because you just, or don't internalize, say, you know what, oh, you funny acting, you don't want to speak now. Talk to that person, say, hey man, or that person, give them distance and say, give them, say, okay, this may have happened. Something may have happened.
Wow, that's awesome. The number here is 361-405-6111. I'll say it again. I'll slow it down as we continue the train to be moving. The number again is 361-405-6111. We would love for you to call in, and all we're asking you to do is tell us, what lesson have you learned from life? And we want to either agree with it or talk about the truth of what you're saying, because hopefully the lessons that we learn in life are based upon truth, Kevin,
Right.
because we definitely want that. Here's another thing I wanted to talk about. Life has taught me that I must be committed and responsible to a good cause. In other words, I have to do something that's going to bring about a positive or benefit to others. You know, I can't be so selfish that all I want, Kevin, is for you to help me all the time. Life isn't like that. And, you know, sometimes we get angry when people even ask us to do things for them. And it's like, but when I ask them to do things for me, you know, I have this old Kool-Aid smile on my face. But then when they ask me, I'm pissed. And the bottom line is this: life continues to teach me that as long as I continue to live, I have to be able to accept the fact that sometimes people are going to need me. And just because it may be a quote unquote inconvenience or whatever, then I still have to accept that's life. Everything can't go the way I want it to go. And those are lessons that a lot of us don't want to be transparent about. But, and that was one of my other points where I want to mix in. I'll give it back to you. But it goes back to this. I have to learn that when I can't get my way, I can't act like a damn baby. I can't cry and whine and moan and groan. And that's what I'm working on. Because see, when I can't have my way, I tend to act like a little spoiled brat. You see, I'm gonna be transparent. And so I'm working on that. And so now when things happen to me, I need to know, I need to be able to say, you know what? Learn that you can't always have your way. And see, we don't like to talk like this, but we call it condescending. And that is not condescending. That's reality. Many of us are as old as we are, but we can't seem to realize that it ain't all about me, is what I'm trying to say, man.
Right. I mean, everybody is the center of their own universe, you know, and you have to look outside at other people. And a lot of times, even with younger people, I try to stress this with younger people. They go about their business. That grandma or that parent, you know, was there for them and coddled them. And every time they, you know, they needed something, they was there for them. Then they start getting into their own life with their own friends. They branching out, and then they don't turn around to call. Not even to call. I say, well, call grandma. You know, that'll mean the world to her.
Yeah.
You know, if you just stop by. And say, I'm just stopping by, and not when you need something.
Right,
see, that's the thing. See, they'll call you when they need something. And I'm not just talking about kids, grandkids.
He talk about me, y'all, on the slide. He trying to be funny, but he talk about me.
But I'm saying that people got to be cognizant of that.
Yeah.
That I don't want, if I see somebody call me, and if I got to say, okay, they must need something. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it gets to that point. Why does it get to that point? Because that's the only time that they call.
Yeah.
Nobody calls and say, okay, how you doing?
Yeah.
You know, hey, how's everything going? I'm just calling to check on you. And I tell them, do that. You know, do that with people in your family. Do that. And I noticed that you took the kids at the Liberation Academy. Y'all went to the
nursing home.
The nursing home.
Yeah.
You know, and people like that. When I was in the coaching with the little kids, Pop Warner.
Right.
I was trying to tell the people in the organization, don't let the people in the neighborhood only see y'all when y'all holding up signs saying we need money for this trip. Go down there and sometimes just pick up the trash.
Yeah.
We just, you know, had the kids out there and they picking up trash on the side in the community.
Wow.
And you out there doing something for them, or go to the nursing home. I even brought that, go to the nursing home.
Right.
These people out there, and I in my job, sometimes I have to go to nursing homes and stuff. And the people, they hoping that I'm somebody in their family. And it makes me feel a certain way. And I'm like, man, and sometimes the person says, that's so-and-so. And the nurse, no, that's not your son. And I'm like, well, let's bring the kids in there. And I noticed you did that without even any conversation about what I thought about. You know, you did that, and I saw you did that on your own. And I'm thinking, we got to be like that sometimes.
Yeah.
It's people that's in your family have to say, hey, I'm just checking on you. Hey, what's going on with you? And then there's people in our community that you have to do that for.
Yeah, that's
hey,
true.
so-and-so, we talk about the village. Hey, this lady down the street, she's older. I see her grass is getting a little high. Hey, I just wondered, do you want me to cut your grass? Everything okay?
Wow.
And they may say, well, I got somebody coming to do it, and I appreciate, but they're gonna appreciate that.
Yeah.
And hey, I'm noticing that this is here. And is everything okay? If you talk to them and reach out to them and say, hey, I noticed this, is something wrong or something like that, then they're gonna feel a certain way.
Yeah, that's
and that's
true.
going to be a bond that we can grow on.
See, that's a lesson that I learned from my mother, because my mother used to teach us when we were growing up, because we had an issue with people that were unfortunate, people that were homeless. We would talk about them as young teenagers. We would, get out of here, leave me alone. My mother used to always tell, don't you ever treat people the way that you're treating them. They're human beings. And it's not so much that you may one day be that way, but that's true. But she would always tell us, you don't treat a dirty dog like that.
Right.
And so that's one of the lessons that I have learned, my sisters and I, because, we saw my mother demonstrate that. And that was a powerful lesson that we learned that we want to use.
But what about the people that don't learn that haven't learned that?
Well,
and then do we have to have a patience with people? We have to understand, because I may be a certain way because I was taught that way with my family and my parents.
Right,
and some people don't have that. So they're running around doing things trite. We call it being things, and they don't know.
Right.
And so we get aggravated with people and things. Then you have to sometimes understand that people are not taught like you were taught.
Yeah. And then I want to comment on that too, because the thing of it is we need to look at life from the standpoint of this. Everybody's on a journey. If they never get to the point where they help people or go to the nursing homes and do things like that, that's their journey. That's not ours. Now, we have to, as individuals, we can be there for them to try and share with them certain things, like our parents always did with us. Whether we listen or not, that was on us. So, of course, there are going to be people who will never get some of these lessons. Like, I don't have all the lessons of life, but I'm trying and doing the best that I can. And until I leave this earth, I have to be aware of what I need to do to become a better person. So if that person at the end of the day, if they never go help homeless people, they never go to the nursing homes, okay, that's their journey, because we're all on a journey. So everybody's not going to be like me. They're not going to be like you. But we just saying that there are some things that we learn. And I think we should have comments. I'm not begging, but as much as life has taught us, Kevin, we should have comments about, this is what life has taught me. That's all we want.
And I'm gonna get to comments.
Okay.
I have Aisha Ray that showed up. I have Nujuana Priestley. I'm sorry if I know you by your nickname, but I'm trying to say the name here. But I appreciate you showing up, sister. And Aisha said, I worked at a nursing home for years, and a lot of our residents never got visits from their family members. And that's a sad thing when you actually go through it and see it. And another comment she said, I got real to one of my residents in a nursing home, and I would pay her phone bill and buy her dependents because depends. I'm sorry, buy her depends because her family stopped doing it, and her granddaughter worked there on the same floor, and that's a terrible thing.
Wow.
That somebody else has to reach out. And Sharon Simpson Anderson, she said, Tep, I appreciate you showing up also, sister.
Yeah. These are some excellent comments. The phone number again is 361-111. And we're just kind of going over life lessons. If you just joined the show, we're talking about lessons that life has taught us, and then what we do about those lessons. One of the lessons that I've learned about life is when it comes to racism. I've learned that living in America, that I'm going to always, in many ways, I'm not going to say in a few ways, be affected by it. And a lot of us, we haven't learned that lesson because we think that when we get a good job, when we live in a certain neighborhood, we think that we have arrived, and we're all for that. So don't throw the baby out the bathwater. We're for all of that. But what we're not for, and what we need to look at, is as long as you look like you look and I look like I look, the system in which we live in, it's always been set up. It's always been set up to make sure that economically, when you look at different numbers, you look at where we live, you look at how our education, in every facet of life, we are being affected. And I have to remember that no matter what happens to me, I'm always going to be affected by that.
Wow. What was coming to mind when you was talking about that? is two things.
Okay.
One thing is a lot of us don't understand racism.
Come on, Kev. Come on, man.
They don't
Come
understand
on,
what racism is.
You mean to tell me we don't?
They think that racism is just bigotry and things like that. But those are tentacles of racism. This system, the systemic racism that exists, people don't understand it. Wow. And a lot of people, and this is the second thing that came to mind. I remember it was something that was posted. It said racism didn't end with your success. You know, some of us become successful,
right,
and they want to sit up there and say, "Well, I don't believe racism still exists." I mean, y'all got Chuck and Pearls that sit there and they made a comment. As soon as she said it, they about, "Do you think America is racist?" The fiber of America is racist. You know, it may not be the same bigotry, but the same racism exists. Right. And what I'm saying is, the venom that our grandparents faced, blatant venom, may not be there. You can walk on the same sidewalk as a white person, but that doesn't mean the racism. That's what I'm saying. They don't understand what racism is control. You know, and until we get our independence and is able to fend off the control that others have on us, the way we think about our religion, the way we our school. How can you say racism don't exist and then you complaining about them taking black history out of the school system? You know, that's the school system. Yeah, that's what America. How can you say racism don't exist when you see what's happening in the judicial system? Right. Every study is telling you that. Right. When your neighborhood is telling you that. When your public schools are telling you that. You know, every time you turn around, you're being oppressed. That's what racism is, a form of oppression. Yes, in this. You know, everything we go through is based, and even if the people. That's what we see ball players. They don't treat this black quarterback the same way that they'll treat the white quarterback. They keep getting chance after chance after chance. And our the rope that they give us is short. They'll love you if you're doing good. Right. But then when you make a mistake or you do something, they quick to.
Boy, what a lesson of life, Kev. You're dealing today. I really appreciate talking about this. Is a serious subject, you see, because we're looking at reflection. You know, we're looking at memorization and thinking, and that involves going deep into one's heart and one's soul to pull out what has this life that we've lived taught us. And I think that that's crucial. One thing I want to say as well is in all my relationships, when it comes to people, I have learned in this life that I must be able to build you up as a human being. Right. You know, now we may not agree on everything, but the bottom line is I want you to be the best Kev that you can be. And if you're saying something or doing something as your friend, I'm going to challenge you. But my goal is not to challenge you, to tear you down, to make you think I'm better than you. Right. It's to say, come on, brother. And the same goes for you. I know you do that for me. You know, you check this brother. He's got a way of doing things. So I'm going to tell you right out. I'm going to be candid. This brother, he's checked me many times, but the way he checks me, he may come across and ask you a few questions and make you think about it, you see. Now, some of them will just say, you ought to quit doing this. You know, we got different approaches, but he going to ask you a couple of questions and make you really contemplate. And then the process begins where he breaks you down and then encourages you. Because I think in this life, Kevin, we need more of that. We need to build each other up than to tear each other down.
And it's more about love. That's what it is, like you saying. And it's reciprocated. Yeah. You know, I respect what you do. I love you as a person. I'm telling you that. I may not have known you that long. Yeah. But if you're in the battle, you're in the fight, you're in the struggle, you're an intellectual person. That's all love. And I'm gonna read a comment quick. Okay. My brother Richard said, Richard Mitchell, I appreciate you showing up. He said, I learned a long time ago from an old school person, everybody is not like you. So make sure when you do something, you're doing it from your heart with no expectations. It was done because you wanted to do it out of love. Don't let somebody else's actions define you. If you are comfortable and you did it, you did something that made you feel good and it came from the heart, proud of your character and who you are.
Let me say something to this brother Richard. He's a faithful listener. We appreciate him always tuning in. He's commented many, many times on this broadcast. And you know what I'm going to say. And Richard, I mean this with all my heart. That's some of the best commenting that you have ever done, that you may ever do, from the standpoint of that was right to the soul. And that there's nothing to be added. There's nothing to be taken away from it other than, hey, what we do, if we do it from the heart, Kev, it's going to protect us in many ways. And that's a lesson that I'm glad he said that's a lesson that he's learned, because a lot of us have to get to that point.
Right.
You can't do things to be seen. You can't do things to be heard. You can't do things to be patted on the back, you see. So,
you hit something.
Go ahead.
Keita LaFlemme, she posted something, peace, sister. She posted something earlier. And I was out there, you know, sometime I'm out there working out, and every once in a while I get something notified and I look at it, and she posted something, and she was shared. It was something shared. She didn't just come up with this, but many of us feel like that. And it's about when you're out there feeding the homeless.
Okay.
Right. And the guy said something about, you out there with a video camera. How would you like it if you were starving or hungry, or somebody came up to give you a sandwich and they put their video camera on and it said, do this from your heart and don't do it for likes or whatever. And my reply to that, I felt like many of us feel like that.
Right.
You know, he was like, how would you feel if they giving you a sandwich, but they got to turn the video camera on to see you accepting it or whatever? I have a friend of mine that does that.
Okay.
A brother of mine that does that. And I posed the question about that.
There are those questions, y'all.
So what he told me, and I told her this, I said, I had somebody that was doing that. I asked him, and he gave me a totally different perspective.
Okay.
He said, if people that I know see that I do this every Saturday, I spend my time and my money, then maybe I can influence them that if they see me doing it, I'm not doing it to get likes. I'm doing it because I would like for you to do it and see that we can do it.
Awesome.
You know, if you're doing something and you broadcast that you're doing it, you broadcast the school going up there, then people should say, well, you know what, if they could do it, why can't I do it? And that just gave me a different perspective. Now, some people do it because they run it for office, and they just like, look what I do. And it's like, okay, but you don't do this. Only time you do this is when you're running for office. But if you do this on a daily basis, and then you say, you know what, come help. They need help. There's people out here, and if I got the time to do it, and then you see me doing something else, and you see me doing something else, you see me running a school, you see me doing a show, you see me working, and then if I could do it, don't tell me that you can't do it also. You know, and that could be a different perspective on people, showing people by example.
I'm glad.
How's an example if nobody know that you're doing it?
I'm glad you brought that out, man, because there are different perspectives when we talk about lessons on life, and sometimes we like to sit on the teeter-totter and it's all going down. We never want to have the balance, because that's what it's all about. Another lesson that I've learned in life, Kev, is basically when it comes down to the truths that you and I and others share, you're going to have to take some heat for it. You know, you can act as if everybody's going to love you because of who you are. And you can say something that's so simple as, you know, we need to do a better job as people, period. You're going to get some heat from it. And what I had to learn is, that's a part of life. You know, everybody's not going to like you. They're going, instead of listening to what you say, they're going to look at your personality where they don't even know you. And they're going to start critiquing you. They're going to start criticizing you. Then they're going to start disliking you, even though in their hearts, they don't even know you. So I have to realize that in this world, in this life, there are many people that don't even know us, that don't even know me. And the first thing they'll do is they'll listen to something that we say or I say that's truth. And then they'll start critiquing me as a person, you see. And we got to stop that. And I'm one, I do it myself. So I can't act as if I'm sitting up here on a holy mountain. So I'm working on that, you see, because that's what transparency does. It lets you see you for who you really are. And so I'm just saying that everybody's not going to like me, and I should accept that. Do you think Nat Turner and all those brothers and sisters, Sojourner Truth, you know, Ida B. Wells, you know, we can go on. Do you think that they were concerned pretty much about how people felt about them, because they had a job to do. They had a job to do. And we do too.
I'm gonna piggyback on something that jumped off of that jumped in my mind. I know a lot of people that's on this red, black, and green, pro-black, or whatever they are. And then they get into and they may be selling a product. And I know a particular case, and I'm just going to talk like this about this particular person. This person, a younger person, getting knowledge or whatever knowledge. See, you get knowledge. People, we pick and choose where we want knowledge from. First of all, some people, you see these people, they just tune into Fox News, so they just have a Fox News perspective on life. You know? And so some people, they just buy certain type of books, and they listen to certain type of people, and they own that hamster wheel, and they just going work. They're not expanding.
Okay.
Like like I said, if you look at my library, you know, I'm a religious person or whatever, but I have books by atheists.
Okay.
You know, because I'm not putting myself in a corner where I'm not ready to read. I'm not a Christian, but I have a Bible. I have a couple of Bibles, or different things like that. So what I'm getting at is this type of brother, he's selling products.
Okay.
But if you go to his social media page, all he's doing is bashing Christians, Muslims, blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
Y'all, you know, y'all don't know how to read. Y'all read his one book. And it's like, that's cool. I'm not caring about that.
I got you.
But then you turn around and say, hey, I'm selling this product. And you don't mind if the Christian people come and give you money to buy your product. You don't sit at your place of business and be like, nah, I don't want your money because you believe in this and that. You know, then you get mad when people don't buy your product, because what you're doing, you're putting yourself in a corner, and you're attacking everybody else that will be probably willing to help you because you black. You know, you got a black on, and it's like, see, and that's what I'm saying. You have to understand that if you can't alienate people in one way, or feel like you don't care about disrespecting them, well, they need to learn because they fools and blah blah blah, and then you want their money. You want this foolish money though. You know what I'm saying? And I sit back and I look at that. And I'm like, wow, you know,
it's a person can believe what they want to believe. None of us knows what happened when we leave this earth, but the principles are good. So we should encourage that. And then, you know, I look at me, I didn't believe some of everything. When I first come on the scene, I believe this. Then I believe that in my teenage years. In my young adult years, I believe that. Now I believe this. You know, the point that you're making that I think is crucial and very, very succinct and important is allow people to be who they are. You're not their deity. I'm not their deity, you know, and everybody's, again, on this journey. And so we have to look at people for who they are. And another thing I want to say, Kevin, is in spite of all the things, the bad things in this world, I've learned this, in spite of all the bad things that's happening, and there are a lot of bad things happening today, there are still some good people in this world. And we don't often talk enough about those people because we're so concentrated on the bad. But I've learned in this life, in this world, a lesson I've learned is there are still good people in this world, man.
Yeah.
There's still good people in your family.
Right.
You know, and a lot of people don't
want to hear that. A lot of us, we get tainted, or we think that, you know, like we was talking about earlier, your relationships with people, let people stand on their own. You know, I hear people a lot of times say, that's why I don't deal with black people. You know, and that irks me to the core. And I may not say that, but it's like, I remember, like I say, a sister said, why do black businesses always run out of stuff? I say, well, black businesses don't all do anything. Black people don't all do anything. You know, but what you're doing, you're taking one black business, or you may have been, and then you're painting that picture for all of them. And we kind of went back and forth. And it wasn't like I'm attacking. I'm saying just your notion that all businesses, especially small businesses, run out of stuff. Mom and pop places run out of stuff. And we are forced to be mom and pop type businesses from our journey. But my thing was stop. And if you tell me I don't, that's why I don't deal with black people, then what? I'm black people. And I'm not going to be dealing with you. When you calling me about you need this and you need that, I'm black people. I thought you don't deal with black people. That's what's going to be on my mind. And I might be busy. You know? We may be busy.
Until they need something. Here's another lesson. Here's another lesson that we've learned. And I know you could probably speak to the truth of this too. I've learned this, everyone, that the legacy of my people is very important to me. And you say, well, what do you mean by that? Well, this is what I mean. Everything that our ancestors have gone through, and we still go through things, but I'm talking about in the past, that helps shape and make me the person that I am today, because I have to learn from those things, whether it be good or bad. And I think that oftentimes we just like to look at some things. We don't like to look at, you know, all of, which means we're going to have to commit to research and study, because we've done some, you know, the things that we talk about when it comes to Black history, all those things are noble and great because of our situation in this country. But when you take it outside of this country, all over the world, you know, we've made the world the place that it is in a good way. And we often don't get the props that we need to get, because we're too busy saying that somebody built the first light, which is great. Somebody built the first, made the first refrigerator. All that we're not taken away from. But our legacy should be so important to us that we should not just wait on a certain month to learn about the greatness of our people.
Wow. Black History Month. Right. So this is something that I had to learn because at first I'm not going to say at first, because at first it was Black History Week with me when I was coming up in school, and it became Black History Month. And just because it was taught to me a certain way, when it was Black History Month, when I was in grade school, or Black History Week, or started out as, it would show the African kings. You know, I think Budweiser had this thing, and they teacher would put all the stuff up. And what that told me is that the teacher really didn't know what Black History, because Black History Month was started as Black history around the world, or our journey. It was for Blacks in America. Canada has their own Black History Month, and it's about the Blacks that was in Canada from slavery. And a lot of times I was getting in conversations with my friends, and like, you can't fit Black history all in 1 month because we go back out. And I'm like, but then I had to learn, because I was speaking on those terms too.
Right.
And when I started learning and doing information, okay, Carter G. Wilson, bro, what was this about? And he said what it was about.
Your legacy.
You can't change what somebody else started it as, and it was just for us, our people in this country, for Blacks in this country to learn about the movement that we made for this country. So it's not about Africa. So when my grade school teacher was putting all this stuff up, she never took the time to learn what Black history was. Many of us criticize it because we don't take the time to learn about what it's about. So people say, well, we don't need it. Yeah, we do, because some of us don't learn anything about Black history until this time. And if you can do more with it, and if you want to learn about our history in the world, then do that. It's not hindering you or stopping you from doing that. But what I had to do was humble myself. Say, okay, let me see what it's about. And this was something that probably happened last year, or in the last 2 years, where I was like, okay, is it good, bad, whatever. Then I started looking at what it was about. Then I had to change my tone, because and then when people talk to me about it, I said, well, you realize this is what it's about. It's not about all of that. And if you want it, you could still do all of that year round. We should do that. Nobody should tell us when we should learn our history.
Exactly. That's so pertinent, because we definitely want to do a broadcast about the difference between Black and African American, because that's where the stigma is, and we can straighten that out, because it's not as difficult as people think. But when I talk about legacy, I'm looking at it from the beginning of time until I'm encapsulating everything in there. Here's another thing I learned about life. We only have about 10 minutes, but I want to say this. I've learned this, Kev, in life, and that is, I must cherish my relationships with my friends and family. In other words, I shouldn't take you for granted. You see, because sometimes, I think about it. Well, yeah, I'm going to go to Kev. We're going to talk about this. We're going to do this. But, it's like, I don't even ever stop to think, what about the person? What type of person are you talking about? And I think a lot of times we don't do that enough. We take for granted. Like, you'll say, well, tomorrow I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, or I'm going to go do this, I'm going to talk to that person. Well, you don't always know that. I know you're dealing with some things right now that you probably could speak to, but we got to stop taking everyone for granted. That's a lesson that I have to learn.
Somebody commented, as you said, before you actually started, they said, Ladae Bishop, I appreciate you showing up again, sister. She said, I've learned life is too short. Appreciate the small things, because the smallest things in life are what's most important.
That's
so a lot of time taking things for granted. We take each other for granted.
Our health, everything.
Everything for granted. Now, I want to get into one of the things that I learned about life is patience. One of the greatest leaders, as far as I'm concerned, for Black people in this country was Malcolm X. And one of the reasons that I felt that he was so powerful, and it was, not just the way he spoke, but how he spoke. And I'm not talking about how he spoke, he was fiery and blah, blah, blah. How he spoke to us, he had patience. And he said in a quote, he said, you got to have patience with people, because if they're not where you're at, because you wasn't always where you were at. So the patience, and I love Malcolm X for that, because he wasn't condescending. He was like, this is why you drink. This is why it's a liquor store on every corner. This is why you're on drugs. Not look at you, you're on drugs and stuff like that. Look at you, you did this. And also with patience, something to the core. And some of my Muslim brothers and sisters know this story. It's in the Quran. And it's basically about Moses, peace be upon him, and the wise man.
Okay.
And I'm not going to get into the particulars of that story,
right.
but what it is Moses went to learn from someone.
Okay.
So to say I'm going to learn from you is a humbling thing. To put yourself in the place of a student is a humbling thing. So a lot of times when they found someone, they said, well, can I walk with you? I want to be your apprentice. I want to see what you do and how you do it. And this is the story he went with the wise man. The wise man said, you're not going to have the patience to do this. And basically, I'm not going to have patience with you. And so he's like, no, I can learn from you. I could do this, basically. I'm paraphrasing.
I got you.
So be patient. So what it is, they went on a journey and everything, and it was basically three things. And everything that person did, Moses didn't understand.
Okay.
So he was like, but why, why did you do this? And the guy said, I told you got to be patient. I told you, have patience. You don't understand what you're seeing right now. So have patience. And then they went to do something else, and then it was the same thing. He did something, and Moses like, man, why would you're not a man of God doing stuff like that. He's like, see, I told you that I'm not going to be, you got to have patience. And then it went to the third thing, and then Moses was like, I don't understand. How could you do this? And the guy told him, I told you wouldn't be able to be patient with me. He said, the reason I did the first thing, he started explaining. And he said, the reason I did the second thing, and what it was something that someone could perceive as negative, but it was for a greater reason.
I got you.
And because I do this, this was going to happen because I know and you don't know. And everything along the way, he told him, and he said, so now I'm done with you because I told you, you're not going to have patience in what you see and what you don't understand. And what I'm getting at is we got to have patience in things that we don't know about.
Yeah.
And it takes time to learn. And sometimes things that may happen, people may tell you something now, and I may not be able to receive it.
Right.
But then it may take time. And then it's like, you know what? I remember, somebody was telling me a lot of times when we young, we remember our grandparents telling us this and this, and we're not ready to hear it.
Right.
But we kept it. And maybe that's why they was telling us.
Right.
And then when we got older, you say, you know what? I remember this person telling me this.
Yeah, that's awesome, Kevin. That's a great story, a great truth too. We only have about 4 minutes, but I want to definitely end on this one, which is because this is the time frame. But I've learned in life that it's okay to say, I don't know. It's okay to say, I don't know. Now, there are so many gurus out there now, so many, religious teachers, and I'm not knocking what people do know, but I know in my heart that no one knows everything.
Right.
But I don't hear that enough. I don't know. I always hear when you ask me, how far is the sun from the earth, I'll give it to you in miles and all of that, which is great. But sometimes I have to say, when you say, well, Jah, you're an educator, what about this? I have to say, I don't know. You see, because a lot of times people think saying I don't know is negative. No, it's being honest and being candid, because you don't know. And a lot of us men, when we get together, boy, we solve the whole world's problems because we want everyone to know how intellectual we are, and all that's great. But I've learned to be able to say, I don't know, and not walk away with my tail between my legs, because
humble. People need to learn to be humble.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to know it. And I always said this probably when I was a younger man. I beware of people that know it all. That means they don't know anything. And I used to say this is what I used to actually say. Somebody that tell me that say, well, let me tell you this about women. As soon as they say that, I'm like, you don't, because it ain't nothing. They're all over.
Different.
No offense. All over, and it's like, you think you know something about women, that there's one thing about, and a woman could change from day to day.
Right,
so you think but that's just popped in my mind when you said that.
All right, sisters, he's being honest now. Because
I'm gonna say this one thing that and this was the first thing on my list.
Okay.
Life taught me how to learn.
Whoa.
I had an English teacher, my first college course. And it was so serendipitous that this happened, that he was my first teacher, because he set the way for me for every other class that I took in college and every step that I took in life. And I didn't know it at the time. And what I said was how to learn. He taught us how to learn.
Wow.
One thing he did, we debate argumentative essays and things like this. He would give, and I wish I remembered his name, but I don't. He was from Stanford.
Okay.
A Stanford professor that came in the military to teach us. He would tell me, okay, I'm a black kid. I'm probably one of the few black dudes in the room. Okay. Whatever it is, I want you to tell me, like, basically, it's like, why black people are animals.
Mm.
And I'm like, you know what? Like, what?
Mm-hmm,
He's like, no, I want you to write argument.
Okay.
And what it was is he know I didn't believe that.
Okay.
But if you give me the argument that other people may have,
Mm-hmm.
then you will understand their perspective. And then I could say, okay, we do this, the violence in our neighborhood, even though I know it's a reason for it,
Mm-hmm.
but I have to present it as if I'm one of them. So he turned the chessboard around
Okay.
and told me, and he had us arguing points that we didn't believe.
I got you.
So this gave me a better understanding of how other people may view things.
I got you. That's
he was teaching us how to learn.
Mm.
Even though it was an English class, he was teaching us how to learn. So now coming back to where I'm at now, I can still appreciate that because Alvin Toffler, in a book written in 1970, Future Shock, he had a comment and two comments that kind of, and it grabbed me because this is something that I went back to my teacher, my English teacher, and basically he said the illiterate of tomorrow won't be the man that can't read, but it will be the man that can't learn, unlearn, and relearn, which means you got to be constantly trying to learn.
Wow.
And then he said the teacher teaching a student how to learn makes a powerful impact, new impact in the education system. You have to know how to learn, not just to read something and accept it, but be able to decipher everything that you're getting. Because I may be getting something from somebody and there may be some truths in it wrapped in a bunch of lies and wrapped in a bunch of opinions. And I got to be able to differentiate that. So one of the most powerful things that this person that influenced the way I learned was my English teacher, and he taught us how to learn.
Wow. Now y'all see why I'm so smart. I sit at the feet of Guru Kev. He's always dropping some great truths that I listen to and I want to apply them to my life, I should say. Now, there has been a preponderance of evidence that we as a people need to continue to look at the lessons that life has taught us. Bottom line is to make us all better people. Now, it's 2:01. The broadcast is officially over. We're going to play our music and get out of here, but we wanted to thank all of those who watched this broadcast, those who have commented. We may come back on the third Saturday and do a part 2 to this because I know everybody, they still have a lot of lessons that we need to look at because this has been a very humbling to me as far as the teaching here aspect. But at any event, we thank you for watching the Jah and Kev Show. We'll see you all the Saturday after next at 1 o'clock with either a brand new subject or we're going to be coming back with part 2 of this. But at any rate, just come back because, you know, Brother Kev and myself, we're going to challenge us so that we can all end up being better people. And again, we hope that you have learned something very valuable today when it comes to the lessons of life.
If y'all have something that y'all want us to talk about, reach out to us. And I believe if you go to jahkevshow@gmail.com, that's our email account.
Yep.
That we never use. I'm gonna be straight. We never, but we'll go to it and we probably need to be checking it. But if y'all have things that say, well, why don't y'all talk about this or whatever?
Yeah.
And we'll do that. We'll check that out. Or however you want to reach out. You want to reach out on the Facebook and say, why don't y'all discuss this?
Right.
Or go to our YouTube page.
We're open to it.
The Jah and Kev Show.
All right. So we'll say peace to everyone. Shem Hotep. Goodbye. We love you.
Wow.